my next guest actually played catch every single day of 2018. And one of those days, I was honored to play catch with him. I believe I was day number 293 back on October 20th of 2018. That was actually Missouri State's homecoming day, and I was in Springfield, and I was able to play catch with Ethan Bryan. And I don't even know where this came from, but that's got to be the first question I asked. But first of all, Ethan, thank you so much for taking time to be on my podcast. But why in the world would you want to play catch every single day for a year?
That is such a great question. And the best part of it, and my favorite part of this story is that it wasn't planned. It was truly just an organic thing. My youngest daughter gave me a Christmas gift December 2017, and it was just a baseball, and on it was written, "Dad, want to play catch?" And I interpreted it as a gift certificate of sorts that I could ask her to play catch with me, and she would say yes. And I later learned that was an incorrect interpretation, which makes it even better. But, you know, how you have the holiday lull and Christmas has passed and New Year's has passed, and you're just kind of like, what do we do now? Well, January 1st, 2018, I was kind of, you know, straightening up the house after Christmas and stuff, and I saw her baseball. And I turned to her and said, "Hey, Sophie, we should go play catch." She's like, "Well, outside?" And we checked the weather, and it was literally 1 degree in Springfield.
Oh my!
And I said, "Yes, 1 degree. It's perfect." And she said, "Well, do we need to go to a baseball field?" Well, of course. And so I found just a local park that was really close. It's actually the same park you and I met at.
Yeah.
And we went over there. And it was so cold. We made it 30 throws before our hands were just stinging.
I was going to say,
cold.
like, when it's cold like that, how do you manage?
you keep moving.
Oh my!
Lots and lots of layers. And then that afternoon, same day, my oldest daughter comes to me, and she said, "You and Sophie want to play catch? I'll play catch with you, too." So she and I went in the backyard, and it had warmed up. It was up to 5 degrees. And we played catch, and our glasses fogged over. And that is literally how the whole thing started. It just and then it took off.
So then when did it become like, I got to find more people, and then it became telling these stories every single day? Like, it just sort of transformed, which I was trying to think of how I discovered you. I'm pretty sure you were playing catch with a mutual friend. You played catch with a couple folks that I know down there in Springfield. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, hey, I'll do it if you're looking for someone, but I'm not in Springfield all that often. And I started just scrolling through all the stories on the site, and I'm like, this is pretty cool. And I'm thinking, well, how is he doing this? Like, did it just come to mind? Because, I mean, and the way you tell the stories of the people in the matter of, I mean, I'm just using me as an example from our, like, what was it, an hour, if even that? And you put together this great piece of, you know, random things that I was saying throughout the time. I'm like, hey, he remembered all that? Like, how did it transform it into that whole process?
Well, I'm a writer. I'm a storyteller, and writing about baseball is one of my favorite things to do. And I was actually, I started the year working on one book project, and the contract got canceled. And so I was in between writing projects and literally just keeping my skills sharp. And on that first day, I posted just like 3-sentence stories and pictures of my daughters on a blog that I think I posted on maybe 10 or 15 times all 2017. I mean, I just very, very rarely and consistently used it. And it was on day 5 when I was not 100% committed, but I didn't want to quit too soon. I reached out to a guy I knew who went to Evangel and played ball there, who's also a reporter at the local CBS affiliate. And he said, well, I want to turn this into a New Year's resolution story. And I was like, well, I'm not committed into it being a resolution or anything. My real resolution was to play golf with my dad every month. And he came and as we were playing catch, we were out for about an hour, and it was cold, but at least it was sunny. And it was while I was talking to him, as he was asking me, why am I doing this and everything, that it just really affirmed and challenged me that this is something I need to devote time and energy to. And just like I do everything else, I jumped in with both feet and decided to go whole hog and to give it my best, not only learning what I could learn about me and my catch partners through catch, but preserving the stories, so I could hold on to the memories.
Yeah. So was there ever a moment, and you mentioned you weren't convinced to turn it into a resolution at that point, but was there ever a moment in that whole year of 2018 that you were like, maybe this isn't meant to be, but I imagine at some point you're like, well, I'm here, I'm going all in now. But was there ever a moment in the early going that you're like, I'm going to give this up?
Honestly, not really. But the first couple months, and off and on through early May, it took a surprisingly long time for my arm to get in shape, and so there, I mean, it was sore a lot, and I would do stretches and exercises and push-ups and pull-ups, and it took until about early June before all the kinks were worked out in my system, and I think if I was to point to a time, it would have been in those early months. Oh my goodness! And we had horrible weather in Springfield. We had snow into April. And the weather was always an obstacle, an enemy. But once I made it through January, in those first 31 days, I wasn't going to give up, barring surgery.
Yeah. Thankfully, it didn't come to surgery.
No kidding.
And you mentioned the weather. I knew that played a factor because I saw some of the days you were playing catch with some of the folks from Springfield Cardinals, from Missouri State, the baseball team, and at Hammond's Field down there, they've got the great indoor facility, which popped in my mind. You're getting the chance to play catch with some of the quote unquote the baseball, what I call the baseball celebrities down there. You know, Keith Gutton. I think you had Bill Rowe. You know, folks from the Springfield Cardinals. When you're playing catch with those folks, are you sort of like, okay, don't have any errant throw? Are you thinking too much about it at all when you're playing catch with baseball guys at all?
Absolutely. Every single one of them. I would get so nervous and going, well, I mean, these are guys who've committed their lives to the game and who are great. And I'm at that point, I was like, oh my gosh. In fact, it was the second week of January, the Cardinals Caravan came to town and they reached out to me, and I got to play catch with Kyle McClellan. You helped him go on to win the World Series. And there's cameras and everyone there, and then we're gathered in the training. What is that? The Row building? What is that building called?
The Bill Rowe,
the indoor facility.
Indoor facility. Yeah.
And I've got 30, 40 people watching me play catch, and it was just one of those things of when you think about it and your body goes, wait, what am I doing? And I made a horrible throw. Just sailed it right over him. I was like, well, that was atrocious. And of course, at that time, my arm felt like Jello anyway. But there was definitely that. Who am I to be playing catch with these guys? That was a constant tape playing in my ear.
So by the time you got around to me in October, and I'm flailing the ball all over the place, and you were just sort of like, relax. You had seen it all. You had done it all yourself at that point.
I've been there. I've thrown it like that. And there's and this is part of it. It's funny when we do these things, quote, called play, how quick we are to judge ourselves, to compare ourselves to those who are the best, and we don't give ourselves any grace. And it was when I had realized, man, I've made all the bad throws, and we're still having fun. Well, then who am I to ever judge anyone who makes a bad throw to me? And so the whole the whole point is don't you dare. You don't need to apologize. We are out here to focus on having fun.
I love how you summed it up on the last day. 365 days of playing catch, 530 plus different catch partners, 12 road trips in the Bryan family Millennium Falcon, 10 states, 7 really good sliders I've thrown, 2 books written, 1 new glove perfectly broken in, countless incredible memories. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Tip of the hat to you all. When you look back, is there one, and I know it's going to be tough because you had so many catch partners, but who would you say, and you can, anyone out of the hat, who would you say is the most significant person you're like, wow, this is cool, I'm getting to play catch with this guy that you're like really super proud of? Is there that one guy, that one big fish?
Yeah, I got to play catch with my dad at the Field of Dreams.
That is cool.
That was such an incredible experience. I'd never been. He had never been. We got an invitation from a journalist, from Bob Dyer, who writes for a newspaper up in Akron, Ohio. One of his readers wanted to meet me, and he emailed me in the middle of January and said, hey, we would like to meet you at the Field of Dreams in July. Are you up for a game of catch? And I said yes immediately. And the best part about that is I really didn't think I was going to make it to July in January. I thought my arm was just going to be gone. But absolutely, we're in. And about a week before we went, I realized I had made no hotel reservations. I had done nothing.
Oh, wow.
I was like, I need to do some planning now. So Dad and I made a trip. We went to Royals game, Kansas City. I got to play catch with one of the Royals broadcasters, Joel Goldberg, and then Nate Bukaty the next morning. And then he and I made the long drive all the way to Dyersville and went out in center field. And it was just a stunningly gorgeous day. And I could not stop smiling that day.
That's awesome.
So that's one. And I've got about 529 more like it.
And thankfully, they're all online, too, so people can browse through your site at whisperedwriting.wordpress.com. So I've just randomly gone through and popped in and read stories, which I love the format. They're brief. You can read through them, learn about these people. And honestly, I don't even know if I told you this. When we played catch, and then I started digging through, I'm like, how many other times is he doing this? And you start reading and you start learning about people and hearing these words of wisdom. This was, quite honestly, probably an inspiration for me doing this particular podcast, because I'm like, there are people out there that have stories, whether you know them or not, whether they're famous or not, but they're doing unique things and putting such a interesting spin on it. And I'm like, wow, he's doing something, and something that you love, just a simple game of catch. And next thing you know, you're just like digging in and finding out these unique things. Like, I just find that just super, super interesting. I don't know how you manage to just pull these things out of, as I said, when I said to you some questions, complete strangers, but it's unique. And I guess your skill of writing probably has a little bit to do with it, I'd say. One of the things that you just alluded to it. I think why I didn't grow bored or stale on the project is even meeting strangers, and I would get so nervous connecting with somebody I hadn't met before, and that's just my screwy personality. But playing catch created this venue where we could connect and just share stories. And the stories I heard from my catch partners inspired me to continue to the next day and to keep going and just I was inspired every day by the things they were doing and what they were sharing with me, and then we get done playing catch and they're like, oh, thank you so much for doing this. I was like, are you kidding? You're the one doing the blending work. I'm just throwing a baseball. But it's fun.
So,
It's just like literally just fun to just out there and like I'm thinking about what we were talking about. You were telling me the story about going to DC and it's just so much stuff. And I'm like, I was probably getting questions out of you as you were getting stuff out of me. So it's just sort of like a two-way street. But just cool. If when you look back on all of these things. And I know you said you had the great opportunity to play catch with a lot of people. Was there anyone that you wanted to play catch with, but just couldn't make it work either by scheduling or couldn't track them down?
Actually, there was there's quite a list, and I kind of kept like a checklist in my brain almost. There's a guy, Shigeki Aso. He is the glove guru and the designer for Wilson Gloves. He's been designing gloves for Major League players for 30 years, and I think it would be really fun to play catch with him. I'm a huge fan of Wilson Gloves. Bo Jackson, Alex Gordon, George Brett, anyone with the Royals.
Sensing a trend.
Yeah. I did. I would love to play catch with Dwyer Brown, and he's the guy who plays Kevin Costner's dad, the catcher in Field of Dreams. And we never got to connect for catch, but we did exchange numerous emails. I think Kevin Costner would be fun. He's in so many epic baseball movies. And then Jessica Mendoza. She's on the ESPN Sunday Night Baseball crew and just a phenomenal athlete. And then another woman who's doing amazing things in the sport is Justine Siegel. She started an organization called Baseball for All. That's empowering girls and getting them into baseball and truly opening those doors. That's the short list of people I would still love to play catch with.
So you're not giving up on them. It sounds like it sounds like as you mentioned before we started recording, you're still itching to keep playing catch.
Yes.
So if you did have the opportunity to track those folks down, you're all in.
Yes.
Nice.
100%.
Nice. So, okay, you mentioned the glove's a gift from your family, and I want to say that's sort of the enabling, but that's how it starts and that's how it generates. But when you go on this year-long project that starts, like, say, around March or April, does this start to cause any hiccups with like family events or vacations or other sort of family commitments? Like, hey, we got to go to this, but I got to get a game of catch in. Like, does that pop up with the family of you thinking about playing catch if you haven't gotten it in yet or had a rescheduling conflict, but also have a family commitment or something going on?
My daughters and my wife, my parents, they were all incredibly supportive, encouraging, and flexible and patient and understanding. And so what happened was I would get these catch playing invitations, literally all over the country, from the Daytona Tortugas down in Florida, just all over the place. And so we started looking at a map of where all these invitations were coming from, and quickly realized it's impossible for us to get to all of them. We don't have the funds, we don't have resources, we can't afford that time away, but maybe we can connect some of them. And so we turned playing catch into our family vacation. And we did it. We went 10 days right after school ended. Just kind of did a tour of the Midwest up through Kansas City and Omaha and Sioux Falls and across over to Rockford, Iowa. Got to connect with players from the All-American Girls Professional Baseball League and into Chicago and home. Oh, it was incredible. 10 days playing catch. And we had a blast. And we get home and my wife and daughters are like, well, let's do it again.
So they bought in.
Oh, yes. And so we used it as an impetus just to take epic road trips, and we made great memories. And I made the promise that if I made it all the way down to play catch with the Tortugas, and that's a historic field, I can come back to that I'd take them to Universal to go to Harry Potter World, which is what they wanted to do. And so we made catch playing became a venue for making just incredible family memories.
Nice. That's awesome. So you mentioned your catch play memories. Now you talked about all the Royals players and the good Terriers and Royals that you like to play catch with, which leads me to next sort of questions I wanted to get into. Anyone that has followed you and has read the blog already, because I know a couple of folks that will probably listen to this are familiar. You're, of course, a Kansas City Royals fan. When you look back, do you have an all-time favorite Royals player? This might be a layup, but I figured I'd have to ask.
If I can possible. Favorite Royals players, Frank White, Dan Quisenberry, Kevin Seitzer, Bo Jackson, Alex Gordon, Salvi and Moose and Kane and John Lofton and Hal McRae and Willie Wilson and George Brett. There you go. There's a start.
Okay. or starting lineup.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
I like it. So you're also a huge baseball fan. Do you have a favorite? Just it could be Royals, could be anybody. Baseball memory that stands out for you.
A favorite. Well, I'm drawn to recent baseball history. The 2015 World Series,
sure.
The 2014 wild card game. Yep. Oh my goodness, that might be it. Here's one. For my 40th birthday, I was invited to catch a first pitch on Kauffman Stadium. Sungwoo Lee was in the United States, and he learned to speak English. He's from South Korea. He learned to speak English watching baseball on the Armed Forces Network and saw the K on TV and just fell in love with the stadium. He's just an incredibly passionate, knowledgeable fan. And so he spent 10 days in 2014 cheering on the Royals in Kansas City, and we had become friends on Twitter and everything. And we met at a tailgate in person for the first time. And at the tailgate, he invited me as a 40th birthday gift, and as someone who encouraged him to come to the States. The Royals had extended him an opportunity to throw out a first pitch, and he asked if I would be his catcher. And so, on the day that he threw out the first pitch, the Royals beat the A's and went into first place in mid-August, and that day was incredible.
Nice. That's awesome. I mean, some of these stories you got just, I mean, some people don't get these opportunities to meet these people and do these things, and you got a lot of them documented, which is great. And your memory, remembering them all too is pretty cool, which I guess when you have these things happen to you, you can tend to remember the great things that come of them. So you talked about 2015, of course, for a Royals fan. I can hear it in the voice already. How special and enjoyable was that for you? Did you get a chance to go to any games of the playoffs or anything from October of that year stand out in your mind as, man, that was so special?
Mm-hmm. Well, one part that made 2015 so special was how 2014 ended when they lost the last game. When they lost Game 7 to the Giants with the tying run on third base. I mean, that was just such a painful way to end the season. And then to get back to the playoffs the next year, I did not get to make it to any World Series games, but I made it to the first game of the championship series against the Blue Jays. Royals set them out 5-0. Salvi hit a home run, and I was still recovering from ankle surgery. I broke my ankle. I was still recovering from broken ankle. I had to have surgery the next year. And so I had a cast on inside my shoe around my ankle. I was still walking with a limp. And so leaving the stadium, I rested on the rocks that are right there behind home plate outside the stadium. And I'm just trying to catch my breath, trying to give my foot a little bit of breathing space. And David Glass walks up next to me. I was like, hello, Mr. Glass, how are you? He says, always fun to end the night on a win, isn't it? And I was like, yes. And for about 15 minutes, he just stood and visited with me, and I was just so shocked. I actually got his autograph on my ticket.
Nice. Nice. And you didn't get a chance to ask him to play catch?
No, I didn't.
Because you weren't there yet in 2015.
He was there.
Right. I gotcha. That's awesome. Well, I love the photos of you playing catch just right outside of the K that you posted for day 366. It's now become what you call the second annual New Year's Day game of catch. So will that be a new family tradition, you playing catch on New Year's Day in Kansas City? Is that the thing?
Anywhere, wherever I am on New Year's Day, I'm going to be playing catch.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate you for sharing the story. And like I said, this is such a great thing to just go back and just what I do. I will randomly type in a day, a number, and see who pops up on your search bar and like just browse through it, because I know haven't read them all, but I've read significant ones that popped out to me. It's like, oh, he played catch with Cliff Smart, the president of Missouri State. He played catch with, just whoever that I was familiar with. It's kind of like, oh, I'm going to see what that one was about. So I love going back now in retrospect and reviewing some of the other stories that I didn't see throughout the year. So from me, thanks for documenting it all online, and it's great reading. It really is. It's a good time to just go back and review all these stories from people that have unique paths in life.
Would you like a funny Cliff Smart story?
Absolutely.
Well, so he agreed almost instantly. I sent him an email, and he agreed almost instantly to play catch with, which shocked me because I know he's a really busy guy. And so because he is busy, we had to plan it out quite a bit in advance. So we found days that were good for both of us, put it on the calendar. And it turns out that the day that we had scheduled was the day that President Trump was coming to speak on campus.
Oh, boy. Okay.
And so he shut down campus about 1 o'clock or so to try and create space for everyone that would be going to hear the president speak. And so I'm trying to figure out, one, how to get to campus in the middle of the traffic. We had planned a late afternoon and get there and just parked in that little U drive there off of National, and there was no one parked, and walk in. There's no one inside Carrington. It's just him, and he's waiting for me. We talked for a little bit, and we go outside, and we're there on the grass, just tossing the ball, and he's talking about how he's throwing out first pitches, and he's getting ready to throw out a first pitch for the Royals. So we paced off the distance, and we're talking, and all of a sudden there's just this helicopter that's circling us up above, and I look up, and there's not one of the hospital helicopters, and no, it's not a news helicopter. And he starts talking. He says, "Well, I think that's security detail, and they're just making sure that we're behaving ourselves down there." So while we played catch, we had a security helicopter just circling us up above, and it was so uncomfortable.
For how long? Was this like an extended amount of time?
The whole time we were out there, the helicopter was above us. Yep.
Really? So it's probably like Secret Service or something, but that's... wow.
Sure. Yeah. And so on the day I played catch with Cliff Smart, the Secret Service were watching.
Nice. Wow. Well, you definitely have stories for ages, I think. So that's just the tip of the iceberg. So, well, I appreciate you taking time to talk with me about this. Like I said, this is, you didn't know at the time, but reading all these stories was sort of an inspiration for me to even do this podcast. So, for everything you did, thanks so much. And like I said, I thank you after playing catch, because it was just kind of like, wow, that was cool. Like, I need to get a glove and a ball and just like play catch again. Like, you just start having random conversations with people. So let folks know how they can follow you on Twitter and visit the website.
It's Ethan_Bryan on Twitter, and the website's really long, and I apologize for it. I should be smarter about that in this day and age. whisperedwriting.wordpress.com. It's just a free WordPress site, and one of these days I'm sure I'll upgrade, but I'll make sure the links go through.
Thanks to Ethan for taking time to join me on the podcast. You can follow him on Twitter at Ethan_Bryan to keep up with everything he's doing as he continues playing catch and writing baseball-related stories. I hope you enjoyed listening and would certainly welcome any feedback, questions, or comments. Feel free to shoot me a tweet at DDocket, and you're always welcome to leave a rating and review on Apple Podcasts and iTunes. Thank you for listening to Persons of Interest.